Hello everyone and welcome to our next instalment of our About series. Today we are going to be talking about DLA. It's a subject that most of us absolutely adore. So for everyone, regardless of the condition that their child or young person has, absolutely dreads filling in these forms. They are very long, you need to be quite negative, so it's never a pleasant experience. I'm going to be talking about DLA forms and applications in terms of Prader-Willi syndrome. I'm not going to talk about other syndromes or dual diagnosis. We're going to look at it purely from a point of PWS. So there are a few things to consider if you are at the point where you're making a new application for DLA. You need to be aware that the person that's going to be reading your form and your information is highly unlikely to have heard of Prader-Willi syndrome or to know anything about it. So you need to be very, very specific when you're filling the form in. Now, as I said, it can be quite negative, and I think that one of the difficulties that we can all have as parents of PWS children is that what we do and how we care for them is second nature. It's something that we're very used to. We don't really think about it, to be honest. It's something that we just do and it becomes our normality. So the problem there is that when it comes to filling in these forms, we don't always look at the bigger picture and consider all of the things that we do for our children. So it's important to, if you can, compare them to a child that doesn't have additional needs, that's around the same kind of age. And one of the more unpleasant sides of it is that you do really need to break it down in terms of how much care you give and all of the things that you do that you wouldn't necessarily have to do for a child that doesn't have PWS. So some of those things are going to include the amount of supervision that's needed around food, whether or not you have locks in your kitchen, on your cupboards or anything like that. It's going to be around toileting, if they need any extra support just with wiping themselves, or if they're kind of at the age of 3, 4, 5 and are not potty trained. It's going to be if they're wearing pads at night. It's going to be around how often you check their temperature, how often they fall and trip. It's going to be around their unsteady gait. It's going to be around challenging behaviours. It's going to be around looking at what happens if you are out and about and there may be a change or something occurs that can seem quite trivial, and then your child's reaction to that. So there is no reason to pressure yourself and feel that you have to fill these forms in all in one go. You absolutely don't. If you prefer to do it that way and get it out of the way, then that's absolutely fine. But you can also do it that you take it a little bit each day and fill it in as you go, making sure that you're within your time limits that you need. So we do have a document that we've written. We've had 2 documents that we've written around DLA that helps you answer the questions, and we've made it PWS specific so that when there comes to certain questions that are listed, we give you advice and suggestions on the best way to answer that question and the things that you need to think about. I'm very happy to send those documents on to anyone that would like them. They're also available on our website, www.pwsa.co.uk. We have one document that covers 0 to 2 years, and we have another document that then covers 3 to 15 years. At the age of 16, it then changes to PIP, which we also have a separate document on, and we will be doing a video about that at a later date. So points to consider when filling in a DLA form. Don't put yourself under pressure. Prepare yourself for the fact that you are going to need to be very negative about your child. It's all in the wording and in the way you word it and in being specific. It doesn't matter how many times you repeat yourself within that form. Sometimes it can feel like you are answering different questions in exactly the same way that you've answered a previous one. That's okay, it doesn't matter. At the beginning of the form, it will ask for diagnosis or health issues. Obviously, you're going to list Prader-Willi syndrome, but you can also list hyperphagia and hypotonia as 2 separate conditions. You want to think about if there is sleep apnea. That will also go down as a separate condition. If you have a dual diagnosis of something like autism or whatever else, then you're going to have that in that section as well. So you want to look at the level of care that you give to your child that you wouldn't necessarily give to a child of the same age without additional needs. There may be things like at bedtime that it takes them a lot longer to settle. It may be that the routine has to be very specific. It may be that they need extra support getting in and out of the bath. Even if you don't have special bath equipment, even if you don't have handrails in place, it may be that they need a stool to step in and out of the bath, or that you need two of you there to help them get in and out, or that they need support getting out of the bath. I know for my daughter, who's 11, she needs to use a step, and she also needs my support in order to get in and out of the bath safely. She doesn't dry herself when she's out of the bath. She will give it a good try, but she needs help in making sure that she's getting all of the areas that are going to get sore if they're not dried properly. We can use cream on her skin, but we have to be careful what cream we use because her skin can be quite sensitive. There may be areas that she has skin picked that will be far more sensitive in the bath. So it's all those things that you need to consider. The important point about if you are applying for the mobility side, so you can apply for mobility you can apply for the higher rate of mobility from the age of 3. You can apply for lower rate of mobility from the age of 5. So from the age of 3, if you apply for mobility, excuse me, sorry, it's very important to understand what the DWP mean when they use the term walking. So there's going to be a question that asks can your child walk? And it's a very simple yes or no. If your child is mobile, it's a yes. If your child isn't mobile, it's a no. But it gets a little more complex when it then breaks down. You have a number of options that you can tick about the way they walk. Now, for a child or young person with PWS, you are always going to mark shuffle. Because when the DWP use the term walking, they are talking about a very definite movement. The movement is that there is a very definite bend at the knee, and that as the foot lands, it comes down as a heel, goes down to the toe, and then to take the next step, the heel comes up, the knee bends, and the toes leave the floor. And it's a forward movement. So for someone with PWS, we don't really study the way that our children walk, because we're just grateful that they do. But if you watch them, you'll find that because of the unsteady gait, it's more of a side-to-side movement than a definite forward movement like we would use. There can sometimes be a bend at the knee, but it will be a very slight one. And I know for my daughter, she walks quite flat-footed. So it's a very definite kind of movement like this, rather than a flowing movement like this. And for that reason, you are going to mark it that someone with PWS will walk in the manner of a shuffle rather than a very definite walking pattern. So that's just something really important to consider. Also, when you're filling in the mobility side and the care side, you do need to consider what happens if they're on uneven ground, how are they with curbs, with stairs, with steps, that kind of thing. What are they like in the playground? What are they like in crowds? How are they from a sensory point of view? So there are lots of things to consider, but as I say, we do have a document available. Now, if we send you the document and you find that you're still struggling with some of the questions, you can give us a call or send us an email. I'm very happy to give you further information on that. We can also provide a supporting letter at that point for your application. There are a couple of other things that you need to consider. Or that you need to be aware of. So if you apply for DLA and you are refused, the next step that you're going to take there, or it's not just if you're refused, if you don't agree with the decision, then what you're going to do is ask for a mandatory reconsideration. That means that you're going to ask the professionals to have another look at all of the information that you've sent in, and you also have the opportunity to send in more information if you'd like to. The information that you can send in with your DLA document, with your form, includes things like a physiotherapy report, a speech and language report. You can ask the school to write something in support of your application, and you can send in any doctor's reports or consultant's reports that you have. All of those need to be within the last 12 months. If they're not, you can always contact your consultant secretary and ask them to write a supporting letter for you. Any physiotherapy reports or speech and language or school reports that you use do need to be within the last 12 months. If when you applied for your DLA, you didn't have those forms the reports available, and you're at the point of asking for mandatory reconsideration, you can send them then. Again, at that point, we are able to write you another supporting letter if needed. If the mandatory reconsideration comes back and the decision hasn't been changed, or you still don't agree with it, you would then be at the point of going to appeal. Now, going to appeal can be quite a complex it can be quite a complex procedure, but that is something, again, that we can support you through and that we can offer advice on. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it in this video, but that is something that you can get in touch with us about if you find that you're in that position, and we're happy to support you with that. If you have been awarded DLA and it covers a long period of time, so say your award it has been given until 2021, if during the time of your award your circumstances change, your child becomes progressively worse, or there are areas that they are struggling with more that they weren't at the time that it was awarded, then you're going to want a change of circumstances form. Now, this is very important because you're not going to ask for a renewal. You don't want a renewal, and you don't want to make a new claim. You want to ask for a change of circumstances form. And again, that's going to work the same in that you are going to ask them to re-look at some information and to look at new information that you're going to be sending in. Again, as with everything else, it's a procedure that we're very happy to support you through, and you can contact us Monday to Friday between the hours of 9 till 5. We do have the information on our website, www.pwsa.co.uk. We also have the documents posted up in our PWS Community Hub for those of you that are members. And as I've said, we're very happy to send the information out to you. The other things to consider are that you're not on your own doing it. It's not a pleasant experience for anyone, but we are here to help you through it. Again, as I've said, don't pressure yourselves. Take your time or do it all in one go, whatever works for you. Another important point is remember to photocopy or scan the form that you're sending in, so that if you are at a point of mandatory reconsideration or appealing, or you need to do a change of circumstances, you have all of the information there that you've written before. So you know exactly what you've said, you know the information that you need to update them on, and you know any extra information that you need to include. So that's my very brief kind of overview of DLA. If you have any questions, please post them below this video, and I will do my very best to answer them for you. You can contact us at any time if you have any further questions about it. So good luck, and let us know if we can help you.